keyboardism. Now I gotta do all the stuff I need to do to get the thing. Really spooky smoke we got. Oh no, it's dying. In the game. We're gonna turn on remote pilot. Because we wanted to try it out with no G-LaForce. Yeah, we might as well. The whole point is alright. Oh yeah. Is the canopy on? Oh, it's just very, very subtle in this. It's just incredibly subtle. How does the audio look? Okay, that looks good on that end. Alright. Because I had to reset it again. And I have, yeah, remote piloting is on, so there's no G-LaForce. Well, the angle of the radar feels different again. I just noticed. It's a lot of fun. Every once in a while we'll play with G-LaForce turned off. Oh, I know what we forgot. We forgot to turn on the keyboardism. I'm gonna go do that after I kill this bomber. Hi, Amander. I need to go turn on my keyboard thingo. Because I forgot about it. Oh, see, there's the canopy. It's being all hidden, like. Because it's a subtle effecto, you know. Load and input. There we go. I was thinking, like, I have the strange feeling I forgot to do this. I forgot to put the key thing that I like, because I like how it looks more than anything. It's like, yeah, because I want to have, especially if I decide to show my face at some point, invest in a Camaro. And I'm playing with the G-forces off, because I felt like doing that today for some reason. Oh, the bullets. It's confusing, but it'll be fine. This angle's actually better. Oh, rocks are no issue just because the rocks weren't changed. But with the other bullets, it's like, I don't know, it's just confusing for a little bit, and then you get over it. But on the light ship, the angle's actually better. It's more clear where you're shooting from than with the heavy. And then I guess the bomber would feel the same. I'll probably switch. Oh, I shot too many rockets. Yeah. So. Nah, I got hit once. Yeah, if I remember, it's like I did get hit by something, so I can't refit in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, I'll just use up these Roccos and I'll try out like a heavy cannon. That sounds like a pretty good idea. I'm just, relaxing. Before I decide to go lose my mind making another spaceship again. Done a lot of construction. Out of rockets. Okay. So I'll go to the bomber, put on like a heavy cannon or something. Let me see. Yeah, I like the bomber the most. The bomber is the most fun. Actually feels like a really good angle. Let me also... So I had G-forces turned off just because I want to have a little bit of fun. I think I already had it. It's kind of just really easy. Oh, then I'll need to fix my color. So, bomber, heavy cannon, see how this feels. Also with a boost, though, in case, I need it. Oh yeah, it definitely feels weirder. You have a really good view in this thing. Doesn't help that he's ignoring me, that one particular light. Days, why are you in my cat? You can speak in the Discord too. Or, well, because I keep that open. That's the weird thing about the canopy effects is they feel like they lack depth somehow. Feels like the canopy's made of plastic versus glass. I guess that's the thing. It's like, I don't think that's how that looks. See, this is where it's like a lot harder because it's like I have no idea exactly where to aim though. Oh, there we go. Yeah, you tism with your frickin' lerms. Oh, the Elrams are also really mysterious right now. I like all the colors now. I like how blue the light is, how red the heavies are. It's a lot of fun. It's colorful. Oh, we almost have it. Oh yeah, so the different perspective, like it's not a big deal. It does make a difference though. A lot of swarming missiles, you know. So let me switch. Okay. Well, well, that means I can complain more about it then. Yeah, it's the worst thing I've ever seen in my whole life. The canopy effects. It's impossible to see anything. Like look at this angle. Let me try to get, yeah, like, it's like it's unusable. It's unflyable. Can't see anything. If it's temporary, it's like, oh, I could say whatever I want. I'm only gonna have to pretend to be nice. I did want to change the game mode though. Hang on. Alright, well, probably plasma is the most annoying weapon to use with the current bomber. The guns being different and whatnot. So we'll use that then. If the flight assist was still on. Okay, that doesn't happen. Oh, he stayed still. Yay. He got stuck in the stings. I wonder if the hitboxes are any different, because I don't know. I kind of feel like they should just be the same, because that's like one of the Infinity Battlescape's problems with making the bomber the same like movement as the... Yeah. To make more... If you just want to make a bomber Battlescape the same as like the light. Well, not the light. In that game's the interceptor. Problem you run into is your hitbox is bigger. So even though you have the same movement, you don't have the same evasion. You're more likely to get hit, even though you also have the more health, though. But it's like, well, the meta in that game's kind of just like burst damage, so they're probably gonna burst down your health anyway, even if you have more. It's not gonna help you that much. Especially if you want to play without any leading assists. It's very difficult. It's a lot easier in Hunter to play without leading assist and whatnot. We'll have a good time. Yeah, what's another thing of the camp? Yeah, the resolution, the effects. Yeah, well, actually, it's better Alias than anything else right now. I think that says more about the other parts of the game than any. Why is the new untested effect in the canopy look more polished in terms of the overall resolution than other things? I have no idea who did it this way. Missiles, they come. Don't want to get hit by the slightly friendlier missiles. Oh, they got the kill though. And feedback, maybe. Could write just a long thing. Oh yeah. Needs more lens flares too. I think that's the other thing. We need more flares. I don't think there's anything else on my mind, though, that affects other than what if we look at this asteroid real quick. Yeah, it got all these hard seams everywhere, like this. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Get the asteroids be more gracefully shaped. Oh, I wonder if we'd ever get tessellation. Tessellation is always one of the things I thought was super cool, even though it is a rendering nightmare for making the rendering. Although, I really hope I can look at one of the skyboxes and see artifacting, as I love bothering Ivan over issues in the skyboxes. We still have the light map issue on this. to me, the main issue of this map is the asteroids in the background. You can tell them really easily from the real asteroids just because they look darker. But there's a few asteroids in the background where they look more resembling. There's also the issue of, like, depth, you know? Yeah, well, he fixed the last one I complained about, so he does care. Yeah, but that's because it's a skybox. I don't think there's a lot you can do to make it look like it's moving. But it's like you can tell that it's like, you can tell where the skybox and the real asteroids are. That might just be like a positioning thing, so. It's just something, it's because I played Elite Dangerous for like 5 years, and the main place I would be in is in an asteroid belt, and Elite Dangerous has the benefit of all the asteroids that are being rendered actually physically exist. So when you move, they will move, their perspective will change a little bit, so I'm very used to that. So when it's this picture, it's like so obvious to me. Just because it's like I've spent probably 1,000 hours in an asteroid field shooting and stuff, so I'm very, very picky about how it looks. But I mean, when it's further away, it's a little bit better looking, like, because when you're scrolling around, it looks nice. When it's underneath, it's more obvious that it's fake. I don't know why I never complained when he made this skybox of this map. Because I think I preferred the old one anyway. I don't know why I never complained. I should definitely do that. That's something I didn't like. I probably got distracted by something. Probably Battlefield. I don't know when. Oh yeah, I need to look up the tournament starting. So I'll probably be watching it because it doesn't look like I'll be flying in it because no one bothered me. So, well, one person bothered me, but it was about things relating to the tournament, not specifically player fine and whatever. Yeah. I can't wait. I hope we definitely get the shipyard map back that we were definitely promised, because the main issue with the tournament is all the weapons we want to use got banned, and we would also want to fight on like the shipyard map or any other like really dense clustered map is like our preferred option for IDKs. And also Renzo's dead. That's the other problem. Renzo's big dead. Yeah, because Lerms and rocks were banned, so. That's like the two main weapons we use. So it's like, well, we're kind of doomed then. It's like, even if I had people that were available enough to make a team, it's like, well, it's probably the main reason why, well, no one really wants to. Because it's like, well, we can't use our main weapons. Because it'd be bombers with rocks and a light with Lerm. That's what we want to use. So. But they were banned. They banned those guns. So when Unless someone drags me into it, which I'm fine with. It's just like, oh well. I mean, if the rocks weren't banned, I would annoy Renzo to stop working for 5 seconds and play Hunter Nut. I would do that. Because the weapons are banned, I don't want them. Because if I were weapons, it's like, oh well, if we can use rocks and lerms, we could just like do a lot of trolling, really. And that's like would actually be our main goal for the tournament. It's just to annoy people, not actually to win. Who wants to win? That's stupid. We just want to annoy people. That's the real goal. And if we end up winning, that's nice. But that's not the main objective. The main objective is to annoy everyone. Which means lerms and rockets are very necessary. But they're not allowed, so it's yeah, shame. Oh yeah, that was a dream I had. I was dreaming about programming AI and how I would do it, and it got very confusing to me. It's weird when you dream about stuff you know nothing about, but it still doesn't make sense. If you're misunderstanding of it, you know. Because the main thing it came down to was like a balancing act. Because it's like, well, how do I make the AI where there can be 50 AI attacking you and it's still fair somehow? It's like, well, how do you do that? Because I'd say the main thing you'd want to do is to build in inaccuracy to the AI. So a sniping AI is only 99% accurate, so they have a 1%, up to a 1% margin of error with where they're aiming. And then a close range AI would have like a 95% accuracy or something. It'd be like a machine gun. It would have like a 95% accuracy. So all the AI would have like a little bit of inaccuracy. But the problem is, if you make the inaccuracy too high, and there's a lot of AI, because they're just gonna aim like in a giant cone centered on you, which means you're doomed. There's nothing you could do. So the inaccuracy that you would build into it needs to be very well tuned so that it allows the AI to feel less less perfect. Because if they're all 100% accurate, if you have 20 sniping AI, every single AI 99% of the time are all gonna shoot in the exact same spot. But if they have a small inaccuracy, it will like stagger their shots a little bit. Which will make it a little bit harder for you, because then it's like you might have to dodge more than you think you do. And that's where the other thing comes from. It's like, well, do you want the AI to communicate with each other? So if a sniper AI fires a sniping shot, it communicates that it did that to other snipers so that they won't shoot their shot at the same time. They'll wait for a little bit. Because I'd say the main problem with that is if you do that very aggressively, that means the snipers are going to perfectly machine gun a player, which is extremely oppressive. So that's bad. So I think what you want is for them to not like be in a perfect symphony. It's like there needs to be a balance of the AI working together a little bit, but not so effective at being team working that there's no way you can play against it. And more so, if there is a way to play against it, it's so insanely hard and unreasonable to do that no one's having fun anymore. Because ideally, I'd want it to be where it's like you could be okay at the game and win against like a crap ton of AI. Because that'd be fun. Like if you were just like, you know, kind of average, you would still be able to like win against like at least 10 versus 1 when they're AI. Because that would be like a really fun thing to do. But yeah, that's where it's like. But I definitely think the the main piece of the puzzle is inaccuracy on the AI. Because that's like the main piece for like, oh, how do we get the AI to actually like diverge their behavior? Because if you just have 10 of the same AI, they're all going to do exactly the same thing. But if they have inaccuracy, it's like that's what's gonna cause them to diverge in terms of their behavior, even though they have the same like programming. That will just cause them, because they'll have to compensate for like missing shots and whatnot. Which would mean that it's like, okay, well maybe their movement should also have that little bit of inaccuracy to it. And positional awareness as well. So, you know, collision avoidance, the one that the AI should know where they are relative to other AI. Because the hope is that if you have a bunch of close-range AI that chase people aggressively, if they try to go flank the snipers at close range, the close-range AI will try to run after to protect their snipers, and conversely, the snipers will try to retreat to the close-range AI, but in a way where it gives a player at least like a few seconds to get good shots at the snipers, and not in such a perfect symphony that the snipers are perpetually too far away from you and the close range AI are perpetually on top of you, no matter what you do. Which means it's working too well. Because it'd be cool if you could get like a majority of the close range AI, if you could shake them off. A few of them will get in your way when you're trying to like take a dive on the snipers. And then a few snipers are just like really screwed over with their movement, and then a few of them are able to get out nicely. It's like, oh man, I just really want to figure out how you make AI where they have the dynamic, you know, reactions, where some of them like can react really favorably and some of them can react really like terribly, and doing it in a way where it doesn't need to be very complicated with the programming. It's like the most effective way to use smoke and mirrors to get AI that seem like they're really advanced when they're actually incredibly simple and stupid. But there's enough smoke and mirrors going on where it ends up feeling a lot more dynamic than it actually is. Because technically, there's only going to be 3 different algorithms for the AI, because there's like a close range, a mid-range, and a long-range AI. So I don't know why I was dreaming about that, but I kind of thought it was cool, so I remembered that I dreamt about that. That's the main thing. It's like, well, if only I could test it. Because then that might be something fun to do in like free time. Is like, the main problem is like there's a lot of stuff you need to do before you can learn how to tweak AI. There's a lot of prerequisites that I don't care about that I'll need to go through. It's like saying you want to be an engineer but you don't want to learn any math. It's like, that's not how that works. You have to learn math. In fact, most of your job is just math if you're an engineer. But yeah, that's like the issue I've run into there. I think I'm ready to switch my weapon again. I've been using the plasma for forever. What else is like the road untraveled? Could just try. Yeah, so heavy, which has my better color scheme. And we'll just use Vulcan. Yeah, because this has the dark gray on it, which I quite like. I quite like the contrast that has. I really like this color scheme more, this style of it. And no, coding's extremely hard. How's your game coming along? The 2D one you were supposed to be making. That was the spooky looking one. Did I do it right? I did it half right. I did the blackout maneuver half correctly. Level design isn't easy? Oh, but you think programming's easy. You know what I think, Days? I think all of it's hard. I don't think any part of making a game's easy. I think it's all hard. There's not a single thing that you would consider easy. Why do you think it takes so long? If it was easy, it wouldn't take a lot of people and a long time to make bad games. And it's not even a good game, it's a bad game when it comes out. Like, Halo Infinite would be a lot better, because they had 6 years and like hundreds of employees, and it's worse than Halo 5. So it just shows you that, well, it must be hard, otherwise they suck. The bastards want to floop the Halo and then not have roadmaps for how they're gonna fix this mess. It's like, at least Battlefield said it's gonna fix it, which is funny because I think Battlefield to this day is still getting more bad reception than Halo is, when Battlefield has more going for it at this present moment in time than Halo does. And I still think Halo is getting more good press than Battlefield is. Because it's like, because the main state that it's in is like, Battlefield has a roadmap, Halo Infinite doesn't. That's like the main state. Is like the devs haven't said like anything about Infinite for like what they're gonna do, which might be a good thing, but still, it's like, it's weird that they just want to come off with the impression that we don't know what they'll do, you know. Oh, is it easier? Well, just look at that Portal 2 guy, Days. Like, he was complaining how all of the levels in Portal 2 suck that are community made. So either everyone sucks at making levels, he's wrong, or it's hard. But you remember the Portal 2 man that was complaining about all the Portal 2 community made levels being terrible. And people like the terrible ones more than the good ones, according to him. Which I don't know how true that is. I still don't think I believe him. I really don't think I believe him. I think the belief is not happening. Man, Vulcan is just so much easier to use than like any other gun. Probably why I like to avoid it, because it's like, eh. Yeah, I'm not very good at G-forces. Probably worse. Definitely worse than some time ago that's indeterminable. Well, that's not how that works. He was saying that people like the bad level. That was the main thing he said, was people like bad Portal levels, because he was saying how the highest rated ones and most played ones were bad, in his opinion. I think he probably said in his opinion. He probably wasn't brave enough to say they were just bad. Yeah, that was the main thing he said that's floopy. And also, why would the barrier to entry being lower be a bad thing? Because if it's easy, it's like, well, that should make it easier to make a good level. If the level editor is easy to make a level, that means it should be easier to make a good level. Because when the level editor is hard, it's also harder to make a bad level, because most people can't even get to the point where they can get to a bad level made. They just can't make anything. Which would mean that when that means a good level editor is struggling to make like a passable level, or he could be struggling to make a good level instead. It's like the tools being better are not a bad thing ever, as far as I'm aware. I don't know why you would ever want the tools to make the thing in the first place be worse. Because if that was true, then people wouldn't be spending billions of dollars in the game engines like Unreal and Unity to make them easier to use. And that trend wouldn't have been going on for like 30 years if it was counterproductive. Because that's the main strength like Unity and Unreal have. Well, less on Unreal, but Unity definitely has the strength of it's easier compared to other programming engines. That's like the main thing that it has going for it. Yeah, it still doesn't make much sense. Because if he says there's more bad levels because the level editor is easier, it's like, well, there's more good levels because the level editor is easier, because it's easier to make a good level too. It's not just easier to make bad levels, it's easier to make good levels. Everything's easier. It's like, stop trying to like make this somehow similar to like artificial skill ceiling. Because it's like this isn't a skill ceiling type situation where the good level editors will like always be good no matter how horrific the tools are. Because I'd say, I mean, the best case scenario, if you made the dev tools, like the level editor tools worse, the best case scenario is you slow the production of the good levels way the fuck down. That's like the best thing that could happen. Otherwise, you're gonna... A lot of the people who were making good levels are no longer gonna be able to do that, or get so fed up trying to do it because it's just so hard now compared to how it used to be that they'll give up. Yeah. Well, the main thing with asset flips is there is a benefit to it, which is when they're not stealing the assets, because people will steal assets too, but that's not the game engine's fault. That's a piracy issue. But when people aren't stealing the assets, that means that the talented people who made the assets in the first place are getting more money. And it also means that the game engine's getting more money too than it normally would for reinvestment. Because ideally, because the asset flip games are terrible, it means that the people making the asset flips are the worst off for like profiting. The people who make the assets are making money hand over fist. So they're getting really rewarded for making assets for other people. And if they ever make really good assets that get used by everyone, well, that means that the quality baseline will actually go up. If everyone's stealing good quality stuff, even if they don't know what they're doing, that should just coincidentally make all the games better that are terrible. Even though they're technically better by popular opinion compared to things like Battlefield 2042, which is still very dismal. Alright. Oh, this thing ended. But it's like, I don't think the asset flips is a super big issue. It's only an issue when they're stealing assets. If they're actually paying for everything themselves through the legal channels, that's not a big issue on the game engine's part. The main issue with asset flipping goes to when you publish it on Steam. The issue is that Steam allows any of those asset flip games to get published and sold on their platform. That's where the issue really comes from. It's not Unity's problem. In fact, it works to Unity's benefit that so many people do that, because they get a lot of money from it. Steam, on the other hand, gets a small benefit to it, but it massively hurts other game devs that are trying to get their game noticed on Steam, and they get buried underneath a bunch of junk. Even though the Steam algorithm is better at burying the asset games, but not burying good games, but that relies on like the user base to like review stuff and the engage with stuff. So if someone made a good game and no one noticed for some reason, he'd just be screwed. That's why like that's why devs saying, oh, wishlist our game and shit like that. That's why that's actually very vital, because that's how you let the algorithm know you're not a shit copy-paste game. You're a real game that's, like, good and getting worked on. Because otherwise you'll get buried horribly, and no one will be able to, like, find your game organically. So, and that means Steam won't recommend your game to people. So if someone's playing a space shooter game, and you don't have any wish list, you just won't, Steam won't push your game as a recommended game to other people. Which is also the other annoying thing on Steam, is it's very biased towards recommending you games that are popular, instead of a game that's probably more accurate to what I want. So I'll get recommended shit like Destiny 2 all the time, when the last thing I would ever want to do is play Destiny 2. But a game like Intrusion 2 is infinitely more, like, appealing to me if it would recommend me that instead. It's more relevant. But it will constantly push Destiny 2 because it's popular. And it has the same tags of, like, FPS and multiplayer. So it will constantly get pushed to me. The same as Halo Infinite will also constantly get pushed to me. No, Destiny 2, well, actually the PvP is inferior to Halo anyway, and possibly Titanfall 2. And absolutely Titanfall 1 and Section 8 Prejudice, and that means it's also inferior to both Unreal or Quake. Any version that is, like, of Unreal or Quake that's good, it would be inferior to those, more than likely. Not to mention that I don't think you can only do PvP in Destiny 2, at least not at the beginning. Because you kind of need to, like, get better stuff in the game, though. Even though the PvP is really weird how it normalizes everything. But don't they still, like, have a little bit of, like, they require you to play the base game to an extent, even if all you want to do is PvP? I think the best case scenario is it just handicaps your progression really badly if you only do PvP, because you have the very limited loot pool. I think that's kind of how it works. That's, like, what you run into with that problem. I think Warframe has worse PvP though, because no one cares about it, so it's just allowed to be bad. And even if it did, it would be a Twitch shooter, because the game has such a bad DPS meta. It would just become a Twitch shooter, where you could kill anyone in one hit from any weapon, with the amount of mods you could put on them. Because that's, like, the main thing with, like, the Warframe mods. It's like, only reason there is a DPS meta is everyone knows that weapon modding's better than frame modding. Like, frame modding allows you, like, to make pretty good offense benefits, but, like, for defense modding, it's like, whoa, what do you have? You have, like, one shield health increase. You have nothing for shield damage resistance. That's not even a thing. At least with armor, that's, like, health damage resistance. So that means the one really tanky frame, which is Inaros for health, will at least work on mid levels as an actual tank. Because he can at least get damage resistance upgraded, which stops working at the extreme high levels, because on the extreme high levels, the damage attacks are so jacked up that everything will just kill you in seconds, even if you have the damage resistance. You just go from living for 1 second to living for 5 seconds. So it's just really horrific. It's like, I don't know why they didn't, like, make the scaling where... It's just kind of how the mod system is. Because, like, there's no such thing as sacrificing damage for health. It's like... Well, not on your gun. On your gun is, like, there's nothing you do on your gun mods that helps your survivability. It just makes the gun better. So modifying your gun to be an OP Wunder weapon doesn't detract from your survivability at all. Whereas on your Warframe, if you're modifying your Warframe to have more health and stuff, that is taking away from your offense, because you can't put energy mods and just ability upgrade mods and other stuff like that that are very useful for offense, or even support, for the few support. Because I guess in Warframe, everyone's a DPS, but support kind of exists sometimes. But all it is, well, your weapon is still OP as hell, but your Warframe isn't contributing to your DPS, it's just contributing the support. But tank frames are just doomed. It's like, it just sucks, because they can't be, they're really fun in low and mid levels, because you can just, like, survive everything and never die. And then in the high levels, they suck, because you just die instantly. So it's really weird. So if you like tanky frames, you feel encouraged to stay in the mid game in perpetuity and never go beyond in your progression. You feel actively encouraged to not progress in the game if you enjoy being a tank. Whereas if you're DPS, it's like you're fine. You don't need to worry. It's like the game's like designed for you, essentially. It's like, but it's like the best. But in Warframe, it's like you're either a DPS or a DPS with a secondary and support, and that's like the only two valid options in endgame, which makes it feel really monotonous. Which also kind of makes it Twitch-based shooting, because again, because you die so quick in high levels, just noticing enemies and killing them quickly is like so helpful to your survival. So it's naturally biased towards people who are like very good at noticing stuff, flicking, and killing it in as little time as possible. So it kind of becomes a Twitch shooting thing in that respect. Oh yeah, that's one of the stupid things in Warframe. I know there's still Warframes that are better at farming, because they have abilities that increase, like, your drop rate. Like, I still hate that, because it's like, what the fuck? It's like, why would you do this? Like, that should... It's very stupid. It's basically, it's the worst for single players in Warframe, because it means that it's like, well, now you've just cemented that unless you're playing with 4 people, you're, like, ineffective, like, you're just suboptimally progressing yourself, because if you had 4 people, you could have not only 4 times the people, which means you're probably just going to progress faster because you have 4 people instead of 1. You also just have literally better drop rates individually if one of you's going to be running the Warframes for farming. Because you only need to run 1, as far as I know. And then you can also have a support frame that's going to give him a shit ton of energy if he can't do it himself on his frame. It's like, yeah, it's like, I don't know why you want to make co-op even more biased towards just progressing you through the game than it already is, because it's naturally biased. Yeah, but it's like, what if I don't want to play with anyone at all, though? It's like, what if I just want to be by myself? What if I want to play it offline? It's like, why do I have to do it with, like, co-op if I want to have, like, decent progression? Because, like, the game is very playable in single player. The only reason you don't want to do it is because it's not optimized for your progression. So it's like, what? Because I want to play the game by myself, I just have to live with progressing at, like, half to a third the speed that the people who would play co-op do. And plus the issue of public lobbies is it's like, well, it's because you're playing with other people. You might just want to go through a level, like, at your own pace, and you don't want to have people who, like, run ahead and kill everything in 2 seconds, because sometimes it's not fun when you have people who run ahead and kill everything in 2 seconds for you. Because that's what will happen in public lobbies, is you'll get people that will just, like, kill everything for you, and you don't get to do anything, but your levels will go really big. So it ends up being very unfun for you. Well, but if you can build Spectres, it's like, well, that's something you need to invest your economy into, and you're already farming resources slower if you're a single player. So to get the same assistance you get in multiplayer, you need to slow down your progression even more, because you need to put it into consumables. more than you normally would. Which goes for self-revives, by the way. Because that's the other thing on single player. If you go down, you get 2 free revives and then you're done, whereas in multiplayer, as long as someone's there to revive you, you can get resurrected indefinitely. So that's another advantage co-op has over single player. Because if I remember Warframe, there's just 2 revives. And then if you die again, the mission fails. There's no checkpointing. Because to me, it's like, well, why isn't there a checkpoint in the mission so that if you do run out of revives, you just get sent back like 5 minutes. You don't fail the mission. And the same goes for multiplayer. I think even if everyone goes down and no one can get revived, it would be kind of nice if you could go to a checkpoint instead of having to redo the entire mission. At least for the first time. Because you don't want to have the Titanfall Frontier defense problem where all the extra chances do is let you replay the last wave an additional 2 times. Because the reactor will be on full health the entire game. If on the last wave, it'll go from 100 to 0. So 90% of the time when you get your second chance to restart the wave is like, well, anyone who had like a Monarch is reset to level 1, so they're useless now. And you usually have like less money, so you're not quite as well fortified as you used to be. And some Titans will get like, you know, reset for their effectiveness. So you're usually just doomed to lose again, and then when you get your second retry, you're just doomed to lose for a 3rd time, when at this point you'd just be more than happy for the game to be ended, and then you just go to the next fucking... And I think, like, the easiest way to do it is to just, like, if you fail a wave really badly, is just to have a voting system for... Oh, do you want to continue the game or not? Just do a vote system. For, oh, do you want to continue playing because you got your ass kicked? Do you want to bother to try it again? Because you probably aren't going to win if you try again, just because you got so horribly bodied. Because it would be understandable if you had 20% reactor health and you died in the last wave, but when you're like at 100% or close to 100% and you die in the last wave, that's nowhere near as, like, it's very likely that you're just going to spend another 15 minutes in a game that's unwinnable when you really would have so much of a better time if you could just get into a new game. Especially because it really slows down your progression in Titanfall 2, because, like, because retrying, like, the waves, like, you get, like, a little bit extra XP, but, like, nowhere near what you get if you were in a new game and clearing the waves. Especially if you were doing well in your new game, like, you were getting no damage on the reactor, you were not using up anything extra. If you're getting, like, all the bonuses, then you'd get even more, like, you know, faster leveling. And whatnot. Woo. Spooky Lightos. Alright, I think I've had my fulfillment playing Hunter for the day, though. Especially because everyone left me on watching. Which is fine. I don't... Well, I care. Actually, I care a lot, and you're very disappointed that you didn't watch for at least an hour. My goodness. Why can't you do that? Just do it for me. But yeah, you have a fun tismery with your tismery. Your tisms.